Welcome back, everybody. Hot Mic rolls on this Wednesday morning. WDOI Extra, KSFL TV in Sioux Falls, Inforum.com. Mentioned NDSU has its second fall practice coming up here later today. Our next guest apparently has a couple more weeks before he has to get going. I was just brainstorming, by the way, which is always scary, that we have like specific special intros for weekly guests. You know what we do not have one is for you, Steve Lockway. We need to change that for 2024.
No, I'm a no hashtags is maybe my slogan. Hashtag no hashtag is my slogan. I don't know if I need.
Hey, you've had plenty of viral moments on our show, from the Halloween candy one. That one blew up on you.
Yeah,
there.
I took the bait on that one. Yeah, I did. Well, and then the old scorch head.
Yes, right?
That was my own doing, but that's been used.
We've got plenty of ample material. We'll have to do that. It's great to see.
That's why I have self-deprecating humor. I just continue to make as much.
You might be the only football coach in America that does that, because everybody else, they all got egos. It's great to see you. Congrats on getting ready for a new year. How was the summer? How's the summer been?
It's been great. It's been great. This is definitely a bucket list item. So, people lay things out for the summer. They're like camping, hiking, sightseeing, maybe a game. Hot Mic in studio with Dom Izzo. I'm like, yes, I am checking the boxes. And so
it's great. I'm glad we get to do this again. You did mention, though, that your daughter was out in Eugene running in Tracktown. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so she ran in the Nike National Outdoor Meet.
Wow.
Ran the 2 hurdle events there and had a great experience. I've never been to Tracktown. We've never been there. And so just the experience of running there, and she did real well. She was kind of 2 different divisions, in the lower division in the short hurdle. She made the finals, and then in the other one, she was in the top division.
Wow.
Finished about halfway through, the group of 40 that were in that. And in her heat, the winner of the heat was like the 5th fastest high school time in America that year.
Holy cow.
So it was great. It's great to be on there. And, you watch the little things as a coach. You look at some of the details of the branding, and then you see the warm-up area, and then you see, gosh, you get pulled in like 30 minutes before and you disappear, and then all of a sudden you show up right before your heat. And I was like, how do you stay warm?
Yeah.
Like, well, there's an indoor track underneath the stadium where people warm up and run around. I had no idea.
Yeah, right?
Wild experience.
It is a different deal
really
there.
Cool. Really cool.
Where do the athletic genes come from there?
Not from this guy. Definitely mom's side.
She is an amazing athlete, though. She had a tremendous high school career.
Yeah, really good with that. Track has been something she's worked really hard at, and been fortunate to be around great coaches and great athletes that have helped her do really well. She took on basketball for the first time last year as a junior, so I've been playing some one-on-one basketball this summer.
How's that been going?
She's been working me over pretty good, but I've managed to still stay on top. We play 3-game series, which that wasn't
to what 21. What are you playing?
We're playing 11 by 1, so I got to go by 2 with the 3-pointer. It gives me a little bit of an advantage as I get tired. I got to just shoot a shot and hope it goes in. But I didn't want to get beat like in one game, like by fluke. So I set up this best of 3, but not thinking conditioning is not my strength zone here. So we've had to push to the 3rd game. That's
your players better not be hearing this, that your conditioning's not up when you got to get them ready here in the next month.
They know my limitations. They know me better as well as anybody.
Were you surprised that she went down track? Was that when that was one that she was going to be passionate about, or has that always been there?
No, I think since she started it, she kind of liked it and liked the competition of it, and got lucky that CC DeBomb was kind of a track athlete only, and kind of took her under her wing, and they trained year round, and definitely is successful, I think, because of CC's success, and so that was great.
And Rory knows what he's doing over there.
Absolutely,
he's the man.
Phenomenal program set up. It's nice. As a coach, you watch some of those things, and you take some of the team building things and some of the ideas, and you can tweak them and use them. Track and football, obviously, they're different, but building teams is not different. So it's been really good. For
a football coach, college football, Division II head coach, when do you have a chance to actually unplug? Is it like when do you actually say, okay, I'm taking some time away from the sport and my job?
End of June through July really has been kind of the most downtime that we get. We've tried to balance it out, but that's really when the camps that we travel around and work at are done at the end of June. We have a couple in July, and so really we had 2 weeks off in July.
Wow.
The first week in August, right before we start, is off, so we've done that. And so that's kind of nice. We really tried to unplug in May in a certain extent as far as kind of at the end of the academic year through Memorial Day, tried to take some long weekends. I think balance is huge. And the more energy you have, the more excitement and passion you have every single day at work, I think that just spreads to people. And so some of that is just having a balance, and it's not grinding away until you're just a shell of yourself.
Yeah.
You've got to be the best version of yourself to get the best out of people.
I got a bunch of things I want to hit on. Yeah. Some are Dragon related, some aren't. With the Olympics going right now, have you watched? Have you dove into that?
A little bit of the men's basketball.
Yeah.
On whatever that day, sometime
Sunday.
This weekend.
Yeah.
Sunday it was.
Yep.
Yeah.
Flag football is coming. What do you make of that? I know Mike McFeely wrote about it in his column last week about that's got support from the NFL, that this could be a sanctioned high school sport in many more states, maybe even up here in the not too distant future.
It would be interesting. I think, you look at it and there's probably any way that the game could grow itself. And obviously it's a different version of the game, but I think it's good. You look at basketball's got, all the AAU, you got the JO and volleyball. You've got all these kind of extra pieces. Football hasn't had those.
A farm system for
grown,
it, right? Yeah.
And this has grown. And so I think the biggest thing is if you can give kids a great experience in it. And that's why I say all the time to anybody that's involved in FM athletics here, just give them a great experience, get them back out the next year, because that's going to build the programs. And the better the high school programs, the better our programs. Football's a great game, but you have to have a great experience doing it.
In your growing up in Cavalier, which obviously is football haven, was there another sport that you were drawn to when you were younger, or was it always football?
I actually liked basketball the best.
Yeah.
And that was my favorite sport growing up, probably because I could get in the gym almost whenever I wanted and, had a key for a while that I don't think anybody knew about, to that, or the armory, and I can get in and shoot, and felt like, basketball is kind of a game that if you can just perfect the shot, it should go in every time, right?
In theory, yeah.
Right, and so you're just like, okay, I can be in control to make this happen. You don't need a bunch of guys necessarily to get together to work on it and be better, and certainly it's not as physical and demanding as practicing football, and so I tried to find pickup games wherever I could.
When did the basketball dream go aside and football was the way to go down? How old were you then?
Well, I knew I wanted to coach football.
Yeah.
I liked the strategy of 11 on 11. It was kind of the tactics that drew me to that. I think Coach Oxenell was a phenomenal coach and kind of inspired me to want to do that coming out of Cavalier. I think when there was some attention recruiting-wise for football and basketball didn't have the same
intensity for that.
Yeah, I think it became kind of obvious if I want to be a college athlete and I want to be a coach, football was the avenue to go. And so I still will hold the claim to fame that Tim Miles did recruit me as a basketball player.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, he did. He was at Mayville State at the time, and he told me I'd be a heck of an eighth man coming off the bench. So I was like, hey, he shot me straight.
Oh, that's awesome.
Pretty good evaluator of talent, I would say.
He knows what he's talking about.
So,
yeah.
I mean, that's my claim to fame in the basketball.
The amount of people that are interconnected around here never ceases to amaze me. That's hysterical. I did not know
I got really lucky that, had the interactions with him when he was at NDSU. You think about just paying attention as a young coach to how he's conducting himself in front of alumni, with the media. Yep. You've got Bucky Mon was there, Casey Bradley at the time, and you're just taking all these things in and soaking them in, and it was a phenomenal learning experience I got to be a part of.
Before we go to break, we had a story on yesterday that your program is selling old jerseys. Is there a way I could get one of? How do we get one of those framed here? Can we make that happen?
I think we could figure out how to make that happen.
How did this call come about? Give us the lowdown on it.
Well, it's just, you look in finances are always important, and it's a difficult time, especially with the travel. Travel becomes expensive, the McKendree trip, and we were at the point where my mom and Abe Rorick's wife's grandma couldn't keep fixing the jerseys. We're out of material to keep sewing them together, and so we got to the point we needed to buy new ones, and this was a way to kind of recoup some of the money.
Okay.
And so give some guys an opportunity to be able to have some memorabilia, some parents to be able to have some pride in the stands with it. And
I could say like a Damon Gibson jersey, that'd be worth something, right?
I
would think that'd be all right.
We'll see.
Huh?
I don't know if it's still available. A third of them went like within a day or two.
Is that right? Holy cow.
So there's only 2/3 left. So.
All right. So the nerd in me would ask you, is there a new look to the jerseys, or is it the same what you've had that you're going to debut?
We're moved to Under Armour.
Okay.
And so there will be a new look.
Nice.
There'll be a new look.
Can't tell me anything else, huh?
Well, I think the plan is opening night to go all black. So it'll be blackout on
really?
Blackout on Thursday
so
night.
Black helmets?
No, that's a different fundraiser. One at a time here. Unless we've got a donor that wants to buy all new black helmets.
You're on the air here.
There we go.
We got Dragon alums all over the place.
We want to make that happen.
We got Dragon alums that listen and watch all the time. So let's go. So all black. All right. I like that.
That'll be a great day.
That Thursday night deal, which I'll get to in a bit, that's been a sweet spot for you guys. I know the results have been a little mixed sometimes, but I think it's been a neat way to kind of catapult into your season, to get some energy going on that Thursday when people are around.
Without a doubt, we're excited.
All right, let's break. We'll come back. A couple more. You got time for a couple more segments, right? You're not doing anything. You're not practicing yet.
This is my bucket list summer item. I got the whole day. We can stay here.
Wow. There you go. We'll break, come back, wrap up our first hour. Back with Steve Laqua here in studio, head coach of the Dragons, right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Wrapping up our first hour. Steve Laqua, head coach of the Minnesota State University Moorhead Dragon football team in studio. Got an email in to ask you about, is it true that the regionality is gone in Division II postseason? We've heard that looks like it's actually, they're going to try and get rid of it, right? Do we understand that correctly?
I think they're working towards it. It's kind of, I don't know exactly how that's going to look, but I think it's on the docket in 25 to kind of work that a little bit. We'll see how it goes.
Because the Northern Sun gets hammered in that. You and I have discussed this time and time again, and I talked with Chad Walthall and Tim Bergstrasser many times, and Carl as well, that it's just the Northern Sun just continually, when you're playing each other early in the, I mean, it sucks. There's no way to put it.
I think it's a great idea. Hopefully it can happen. I think obviously there's some question marks with the NCAA and where's that going? And then, if you get rid of that, the finances become astronomically high. Okay, where is that money going? Yep. And so then you start looking at, well, is there a departure of the Power Four now? Well, that takes money out of the NCAA. And so if the money's gone out of the NCAA, how is that going to happen? And so you want to move that way, but depending on how the economics of it work, it could swing further the other way and resemble a lot more like Division III.
And they're expanding their postseason, I saw. Is there any movement there for D2?
There is a little bit of that. So I think we have a good shot. We'll see how that plays out.
What are you guys at right now? 32?
Yes.
To go to, I wonder, to 48? I'm curious how many more you got to go to.
We're 28 to 32.
Okay.
Because the first round buys regions.
Well, that could be better for the Northern Sun as well, considering how difficult a league it is, that sometimes the league only gets 2, potentially 3, that there might be a spot open up there for a fourth-place team to potentially get in.
Yeah, hopefully. And so with a non-conference schedule, that kind of opens up maybe to make the case a little bit better than we've had in the past.
All the logistical things that are happening around the NCAA with football, how much do you keep an eye on it? Or is it, unless it directly concerns me and my team, I'm not really worried about it.
I don't dive into it too much. I try and just keep my ears open to see kind of what's going on. But at the end of the day, a lot of that doesn't affect us. It's at a level so much higher than us. The collectives and NILs, those things don't affect us. But the general landscape of, okay, is there going to be a departure of some of the bigger schools out of the NCAA, and then the NCAA reshuffles? Okay, what would that look like? But at the end of the day, it's us just kind of getting rules handed down to us that come from Division I that probably don't apply to us. And then you're kind of like, okay, well, whatever. There's another rule that doesn't really affect, or removal of the rule. And like, well, whatever. That didn't really affect us either. So it's kind of a crazy deal.
Recruiting-wise, has that changed in terms of how much you can be on the road and how much you can have official visits on campus? Has that affected you in the Division II world?
It hasn't yet. Okay. But I think as kind of they're removing the restrictions, because restrictions keep people from the possibility of earning money from NIL. So then you start removing those. So now it's getting to the point where there's going to be fewer and fewer rules. And so I think that's on the docket where that definitely could happen. And I know the talk is there's no recruiting calendar. So it's like, hey, you can just go out whenever, as much as you want, whenever you want, good or bad. I don't know. It opens the gap between haves and have-nots a little bit, but it also makes some sense too.
You and I discussed this last question before we break, and we're going to talk about your actual football team in the next segment. On the Division I early signing period has been moved up 2 weeks. And you and I have talked about this because yours has not moved. It's still that first Wednesday in February. Is that a good thing for you guys now that you know 2 weeks ahead of time of who you're looking at or who you can go get?
I think in general, it's been good. So the 2 signing days has been good. It clears up. Division I is clearing up so fast that we're so far ahead of the game compared to what we've been. So I think that's been good. There is talk that we'll get to add a December signing day, which I think would be important because I think last year by the time we got to December, we had over half of our class was already committed. By the end of December, it was over 80%. You're waiting until February to sign.
So you'd have most of your guys locked in by Christmas time.
Absolutely. Okay. And I think the great thing is you look and go, it probably is for us in Division II. That's a great budget savings. If guys they're maybe not having to come in on official visits. They've done that work through the summer on unofficials and camps and whatever it might be. And so you got a chance to save money and save travel. And so I think those are things that are the real concerns about Division II, which is completely opposite of Division I, the money parameters.
And that's the thing and I'm not just saying this because you're here, but for Division II coaches to sweat it out when a Division I guy maybe doesn't get the offer or signs with a school, and then it's a guy maybe you're looking at, but you still have to wait 6 weeks to try and maybe you sign him, and then he wants to bolt because he gets a preferred walk-on somewhere. I don't know how many times you and I have probably talked that, well, we had this guy, and then he got something else, and now he's gone. That's probably happened too many times to count.
Yeah,
right?
And it's in today's world, you almost have to – you got to be prepared for that. It can happen. It's, the portal, that can happen at any point in time. So you're trying to plan – 4 years, 5 years in advance, but in reality, we got to make sure that we've got a beat on this year after year, semester after semester, almost to make sure that you're in a place where your roster's able to build enough talent and depth to handle any sort of crazy things that happen that way.
Let's break. We come back. Much more with Steve. We'll actually talk about the 2024 Dragons, expectation-wise, and some good coaching stories as well. We're back on Hot Mic on this Wednesday morning right after this.
This is Hot Mic.
Hot Mic.
On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. We're being joined by MSU head football coach Steve Lockway. The Dragons open up fall camp. What is it, August? I'm getting the spot. 11th? When are you going back?
11th?
When do you got to go back to work?
A week from Monday.
When's your wife kicking you out of the house? Go back to work.
Yeah, week from Monday. I got limited time to get this to-do project list done.
So in the old days, you used to have 2-a-days when you were a player and certainly early on as a coach. So how different is it now for fall camp where you have a 2-hour window to try and get as much in as you can? How difficult is that compared to, hey, we're going to go from 9 to 11, then we'll see you back here at 3 o'clock?
It's difficult. It's been good. I think the challenge, it's weird. Like the first week, after every physical activity, you have to have 3 hours off that you can't have meetings, you can't have these things. You're like, the day becomes so long when you're trying to get a walkthrough, a lift, a practice, and you're trying to put the hours in between before you then can get to a meeting and, to watch film, to install, to do some team building things. And so that first week, the days get really long, to be honest. They're not as physical, obviously, as they used to be. But I think we've gotten a good rhythm last year. I think we felt a good rhythm in fall camp, and so we'll build off of that again this year.
I think there's a palpable excitement around your football team after last year of winning 7 games with Jack Strand back at quarterback, who was the NSIC Offensive Player of the Year. How do you build off of that for 2024? With expectations are the Dragons, people think you guys are going to be pretty good this upcoming fall.
Yeah, I think last year we probably caught some people off guard. We didn't come off a great season, and so people maybe didn't expect a lot, and maybe people inside the rooms of our building didn't expect a lot, and so this year I think is different. Their expectations, we knew that was going to be the case, and so we started that in our off-season development of, hey, what are some things that are going to be different, some challenges we're going to have to take on, and one of them is going to be expectations. So how are we going to handle expectations as a team, as individuals? And sit down with Jack and have a conversation about, hey, you understand that everyone probably expects you to be the Offensive Player of the Year again. Yeah. Everyone expects you to be second in the conference or in the nation in passing. Why? Because something you did last year that doesn't have any bearing on this year. So how are we going to handle those? What are healthy expectations, and how can we not let those be like kind of a burden on our shoulders?
For Jack Strand, what do you see from him? What do you need to see from him to take another step forward in 2024?
Well, I think the judge of all great players and great leaders is how good can you make the people around you. And so, certainly he can do that by throwing the football around and distributing it and doing those things. But how can he do it not maybe with his arm? You know, how can he do it inspiring guys, teaching guys, mentoring guys, you know, coaching? We talk a lot about coaching the human spirit. Like those are the things that we need to be great at collectively as a coaching staff, as players, as leaders. You know, there's those moments when you see guys and they need you, right? It's maybe after a drop pass, their body language is down. And so when their eyes come up and they look to Jack Strand, is Jack Strand going to be there and reaffirm them and pick them up and say, you know, we got you the next time? Or are they going to look up and see Jack Strand with poor body language and hanging his head or shaking his head like, I can't believe you dropped that? Well, that's not going to make you very good for the next rep. And so those are the things we've been talking about and really trying to coach well.
Gage Florence has been a national phenomenon the last couple of years. Your wide receiver from Velva, where does he go? Does it all depend on Strand getting him the football, right?
Well, sure. You know, it's kind of like a post player in basketball. Yeah. You can't affect the game unless you get the ball. And so obviously he has to do those things. I mean, 208 catches in his first 2 years is wild. But we talked to Gage a little bit about, hey, what if your stat line at the end of the season looks like this? It's not 108 catches. It's 83, but instead of 950 yards, it's 1,200 yards. And would that help us? And how can you handle that? And hey, Gage, what if we're playing in a game and now all of a sudden you're catching 6 to 7 balls in a game, and you know now there's people in your ear going, oh, what's wrong? You only got 7 catches. Like, are you not playing well? Do they not? You know, how are you going to handle those things? And so we've tried to address all those things that may come up before the moment. So when the moment gets here, we're ready to handle it.
That's tough for 20-year-olds. You've been lauded. You've had interviews. You've had your name out there. You got videos, and then, well, if I'm not getting the ball as much, that's a mental gymnastics hurdle you got to overcome, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's why we tried to address it before the fact instead of getting into it. And I think trying to put the right frame of reference around, okay, what does that actually mean, and how can that be successful, and what is success, and what is being a great teammate, and what's a great season look like. And so we've tried to craft some of those out for our guys, and hopefully, when the rubber hits the road, we're able to do that when the heat's on.
I know everything is always flashy on offense, but I thought defensively wise is why you won 7 games. Tell me about that side of the ball. What excites you? A couple players that excite you about 2024?
Well, I think just phenomenal coaching with the defensive coaching staff. They've built a system that fits the players that we have, and their willingness to play for each other, to give themselves up. We, if you look a lot of times, we walk out there, we probably don't have all the one-on-one matchups checked in our favor. Yeah. And most times we don't have very many of them in our favor, but I think our guys are willing to maybe take a 2-for-1, give yourself up, take 2, and you allow another guy. And so we've avoided one-on-one matchups. We've tried to get it to 2-on-1. And so they play within the scheme great. Guys are willing to be able to do that. Josiah Boehm coming back as an all-conference player, has been a captain for 2 years.
That's huge for you there,
great
right?
Leadership for us. He's done a phenomenal job with that. I think Denver Sheets and Justice Noel are ready to take off on the D-line after
Davies kid.
Hayden Carr, graduated as a captain, moved on. Those guys are ready. I think Tate Gustafson, his move from safety to linebacker, 2 springs ago, and then by the end of the year, he really got in a flow where you felt like this guy's playing at an all-conference level. So I think that's great. DBs, I think, are going to be some question marks. You lose Jake Betcher, you lose Jared Kallenbach, but you got some guys back. Mikhail Pearson from DGF played phenomenal.
He's a good player. Yeah. He's a good high school player.
So we need to have him continue to step up. Cody Sorensen, we lost to a season-ending injury, week 3 or week 4. So having him back would be great. Yep. And so hopefully we can get Adam Kallenbach healthy. And so we've got some things we can build on back there. It's a great unit.
I don't know if you know this, but your league is pretty good, and your schedule did you favors this year because you're playing all the big boys. You're playing at Duluth. Augie comes here. I'll call up over there because I gotta. Who scheduled Mankato for homecoming? What's that?
That's a tough draw.
What are we doing, right?
Wow, it seems like my thoughts are coming out on the mic through your voice.
So
that's crazy. If my thoughts are coming out of your mouth on the mic, it's sometimes the one year we played Mankato, I think they were ranked number 1 at the time for homecoming, and I just thought somebody on the committee hates me. I don't know what I've done, but Hey, you know, at the end of the day, some of it's the dates. It plays out. There'll be a good crowd there. I mean, it was a great game last year. Shoot, we played in Mankato.
You should have won that one. Huh?
And it was the top 5. I can't remember what exactly of all-time attendance in their stadium. And so you know, it was a big crowd, and so it's probably good. We got a good crowd, you know, for that game. Hopefully, we can play good football. It's a long time till we get to that point. So.
Open up with a Thursday night game, as we mentioned, off with Wayne State. Describe that and the thought process on you've done this now, gosh, I want to say 7-8 years, at least every other year when you can do it, you've done the Thursday night game. Yeah,
I love the Thursday night game. I think some is it shortens fall camp a little. That can get long and monotonous, and so I think we've got a good schedule that leads us into being pretty healthy and fresh for that Thursday game. I also like that it gives you a little bit of downtime. You know, a Saturday off before you get to the next week. And with Duluth on the road, that's 2 big games back to back. And so having a little bit more prep time there is definitely helpful. I think this year it doesn't play out as well. Usually it's Thursday before Labor Day.
Right.
This is Thursday after Labor Day.
Yeah.
So that's maybe not quite as great. But I'll tell you, as a football coach, to have that one Saturday off when you play Thursday, it's kind of nice to, and I won't say it's off because we practice and we have meetings, but you come home and you're like, wow, there's a football game on, and I can actually watch this thing, or you know, or not just be wiped out from a whole day of a game decision making. You're just like, oh. So I like having kind of a weekend of a little bit of balance before it gets really crazy.
I'm getting Marcuson on here. We're going to figure out how in the world they put Mankato on homecoming. So.
Hey,
it was, by the way, Eric tells me it was the 3rd largest crowd ever last year for your game at Blakesley.
It was a big crowd, and it was a great game. And
has Blakesley changed from when you played at NDSU?
Honestly, it sure didn't seem.
No,
it doesn't seem
that's
like
why the Vikings left.
You know, definitely the places, the changing room, and those things are different around there where the basketball stadium is. But you know,
the football stadium itself is the same.
Yeah, it's not great memories for me there. My senior year, we missed a field goal at the end in 2001 in a team where we probably should have made the playoffs and made the semifinals the year before. It was kind of a whole debacle, that whole trip.
Oh, here we go. I'm ripping the Band-Aid off.
No, it's okay. I've moved on. Can't you tell?
I can sense it.
It's like I've moved on over these things.
A couple other questions.
Just like the semifinal loss.
I was going to say,
in high school, senior year, we're in the semifinals, overtime loss. Yeah, I've moved on from those. It's not a big deal.
Football losses just stick with people, right? Though that's
sure
it.
They do. But
like you remember those probably more. Look at they're more probably than the wins you have, right?
Some of them, but no, I remember some wins too. They balance out.
The expectation angle that we talked about, like in your own mind, what is it going to be to be successful? Obviously, playoffs is conference, all that is there. But for you in your own mind, what do we need to do to be successful and feel like we had a good year?
Yep. We've got to play together as a team, be selfless, inspire each other, support each other, be there for each other, make football the best part of everybody's day. And so we understand we're leaving on this journey. There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be adversity. There's going to be pressure. And we've got a group of guys that we've got to forge together and solidify as one single unit and heartbeat to handle all those stresses and pressure and adversity. And if we can do that well together and go through it, we'll ride that roller coaster. And when we're done, we'll be a group. We'll be stronger together. We'll be beat up. The shine will be knocked off. We'll have guys that will be injured in crutches at the end of this thing. But if we do it together, you know, we'll be happy with how it plays out. And I think that's where our strength is. If we can do it together, then the wins will take care of themselves.
How early in the fall camp will you lose your voice?
Oh, probably week 3. You know, although my 4-year-old's been on a tear here the last couple of weeks, so I've had to practice the yelling voice. So it's good training, I guess. That's what I'm telling myself.
All right, before we go, I was digging through the WDAY archives for some classic Steve Lockway coaching video, and I couldn't find playing. I didn't have that much time. I got to go into the basement to find that, but I dug up some from both NDSU and then from Shanley. Look at this. Look at this guy. Look at how young you look, huh?
Not as much gray hair there. Look at that. I'm standing next to Steve Walker. What am I standing next to Steve Walker for? I must have been lost.
Do you remember this?
Yeah, I came in right after Todd Wash gave a great press conference, and then I had to say something. I was like, what am I standing up here
and then
for?
There you are with the late, great Randy Nelson awesome. When you're getting introduced as the head football coach. I remember I was there that day. How nervous were you for this?
I was nervous. I was like, why is everybody here? This isn't that big of a deal. These guys haven't won a game in 3 years.
Right?
Who cares that I'm coaching there?
So that was 2007 that you got hired at Shanley. And look at that. And by the way, you guys were playing everywhere. Like that year, you played at Concordia, if I remember right. Right?
Concordia, the Dome, Fargo South. We were all over the place. I almost threw up before the first game. There's only been 2 games as a coach I've almost thrown up beforehand. That was the first one there.
2007.
Yeah, the first game that we played against Minot, I was like, oh my gosh, well, this is I can't believe we're about to do this.
Look at you there. Wow.
Yeah, I got a lot more hair. I didn't realize how much I was thinning. The hair was thinning.
This is at Concordia.
Yeah.
And that
was the only win we got that season. They tried to hit me with the Gatorade after the game, and they missed. I was like, you guys are terrible at everything. I mean, that was probably, we were like 1-8 that season.
Gosh.
It was like game 8 towards the end of the year, and we win, and like they're dousing me with the water cooler. I was like, I'm probably the only 1-7 coach to ever get doused with water.
That was your first win.
It was wild. I remember that because they missed, and I was just like, wow, this is not how I envisioned that ever going.
Okay, so what was the second game you almost threw up? You mentioned the game one.
Second championship at Shanley before the state championship.
At the Alaris Center, yeah.
Yes, we had averaged 50 points a game, darn near, won every game by about 30 points
Hell
on
of a game with
average.
Grafton that year.
And then we got to the end and was just like, well, it kind of felt like if we don't win it, the whole thing is just kind of a whole season of greatness is just gone. And so
it's a lot there.
I felt that one. So
that's some good stuff.
The only times I felt like throwing up at Moritz, it's just been the play's been bad. It's not been the nervous. Those first few years, I was like, oh gosh, this looks terrible. This might make me throw up. So.
That's my last question before we go, because you've done this now. This is what, year 14, 15?
Sounds right. Since
is this longer than you thought? Had you thought you'd go somewhere else, or is this, this is where my home, and you've built this into a program where people respect it and know it. Has it exceeded what you thought you were going to do here?
I think going back through the journey, it was something that wasn't like, hey, it's stepping stone and moving around. It's like my journey kind of took me in this route. I'm a Fargo, Moorhead, North Dakota, Minnesota guy, and so that part's been good. This is home. I love being here. I love having a program for the people of this area with the players of this area, and I think just doing it our way and doing it the right way. We've certainly grown a long way from where we are.
No doubt.
Certainly, I think we've got bigger hopes to be able to make it bigger and better, and there's challenges that come with that, and we got to continue to keep knocking those obstacles away and be able to do that. And so I've loved it. I think there's a lot of passionate people that have been involved with the program on kind of the inside and on the outside, and we continue to be proud of what we're building.
I constantly run into Dragon football fans that just are excited about what's going on. Whenever I go speak at MAA, that you get those questions all the time. There's passion there for where things were, which was not good, to where you got now, where there's respectability, accountability, and logical expectations for your program that weren't there when you started. It wasn't there.
No, it's been great. Obviously we've got ways to go, but you just look at it, and I think I explained it. We're kind of like the hole in the wall restaurant. Right, that doesn't maybe look so good from the outside, but you go in there and you're like, wow, this is really good, and there's really something special here. And you walk in and people kind of like cheers, like, hey, Norm, it's great to have you here. And I think there really is something special about it. And so, I encourage people that haven't taken a look just to get close enough to the program to take a look at it, see what it's really about, and there's something special that we do there.
All right, we're left with two things I got to bug Marcuson about. A, who's scheduling Mankato on homecoming? B, black helmets, right? Anything else you want me to get them on the phone?
No, I like
here?
that. If you can make those things happen, that's you're my agent now.
Well, I'm not going that well. You want to pay? What am I getting?
Well, let's work out. If this can work, I think then you become the agent. The next contract, you go in. Let's figure out a percentage here.
Well, let's do some negotiating here on the air. Can we count on you coming back on Tuesdays this coming fall? Is that
without a doubt? It's one of the best parts of my week.
All right.
I love this time. I appreciate being in here. You do a phenomenal job with the sports around this area. And
I appreciate that.
Engaged, and sports are an awesome way to bring people together, and you're part of that. And so I'm glad that I get to be a part of it for Saturdays and then Tuesdays in here. And so hopefully we can keep doing that.
Let's do it.
Let's bring some joy to some people's lives.
From the Cavalier, North Dakota, Steve Lockway joining us here. Great to see you. Thanks so much for making some time for us this morning. Good luck this year, and we'll see you on Tuesdays, all right?
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Steve Lockway, head coach of the Dragons, in studio. We'll come back. We'll put a finishing touches on Hot Mike. We got Bison Media Zone coming up. We'll wrap things up right after this.